And everybody, welcome to the webinar. And thanks, Vikas, for this interesting session, and also a bit of aspect on why should people stand and attend. I think that's a great idea, because especially if you're, I think that's a good idea generally. If any of these webinars or meetings that you attend where you're not presenting or speaking, it's much easier to stand and attend, right? So that's a great idea, right? So just to quickly introduce the panel here, myself, my name is Anish. I'm part of the Palo Alto team from the SASE perspective. We also have Brijesh here, who's our senior domain consultant, and Shashank, who's our senior product manager, right? So you have people from the product management, engineering, and the sales, right? So that's so that we make sure that we answer all the queries that you have across the panel, right? What we are going to do is I'm going to give a bit of introduction about what we are going to talk today, followed by Brijesh and Shashank. That is what how it would be looking like. So Brijesh, we can start sharing your screen. We will get going there. So give us a minute. Yeah. Uh, so what we're going to do today, right? And like Vikas said earlier, while we talk about SASE and zero trust, right? We're going to talk a bit more focused on data security and what impact it has on the business, or in fact, why data security is critical in today's day and age, right? So when we're talking about data security, right? So let's go to the origin. Where is data coming from? And today, I think each one of us, and this is not just for our enterprises or organizations, right? Even at a personal level, the amount of data that we generate, that we create, is immense. But as an organization, where is this origin of data, right? Today you have cloud services which gives you which generates a lot of data. Of course, everything is today moving to SaaS applications, right? I think most of you and your organizations, probably at least 80-85%, or for some people 100% of your applications, at least the corporate applications, would have moved to SaaS. Our devices today generate a lot of data. I mean, if you just look at the amount of logs and everything that your laptop or your even your mobiles generate is tremendous. Of course, users generate data based on what you have. And probably the newest kid on the block are the AI agents, right? And today, if you read in the news, right, there are so many organizations which are saying that we are increasing the number of AI agents, and the amount of data an AI agent can generate, right? I'm very sure it's going to cross the amount of data that a user or a device would generate in a very, very short period, which means the data is being generated at an immense level. Now, when this data is generated, right, what are the challenges that we face when we look at this data, right? So, while apart from data being generated, right, I said there are SaaS applications, there are multiple users. The first is our data is extremely widely distributed, right? Today, for most of you who are using any applications, you don't know, and very honestly you don't even care where the data generated by that application is, or where those applications are, right? You just need access to those applications, which is where your SASE solution has come into place, right? It generates this aspect of immaterial of where the user is, or now where the AI agents are, where the devices or servers are, and wherever your applications are, you have your SASE solution to help you connect all of it. But it also creates a very widely generated data, right? The other is the data is also becoming highly diverse, right? Which means because with new applications, with AI agents, with other AI applications, the type of data that is being generated is also becoming extremely diverse. And which means my data security now needs to take care of not just the standard data that I had, but I also have to look at different formats of data and protect the data in all those aspects, right? And the third, of course, with all of this, comes the rise in compliance, right? That the more kind of data you have, the more complex our compliance becomes, right? Now, what does this mean for IT teams? What does this mean for organizations, right? One is explosion of data. I need to make sure that everything is taken care of. I already have a hybrid work environment. I need to make sure that my SASE solution that I have and other things that I have are very strong, right? I also want to, I mean, if you're from the SOC team, or if you're somebody who's looking at this data from a security perspective, right? More data, more alerts, more fatigue. How do you make sure that everything? And with all of these things and all of this in such a diverse environment, do you really need multiple tools that are going to take care of all of this data, because now your data being in different locations, are you going to install different tools to just make sure that your data is secure? And this is what we are going to talk about, that where is your data, how are you going to secure it, and what does Palo Alto do in terms of data security in that sense, right? So yeah. So just to quickly uh, look at what are some of the challenges that people are seeing when it comes down to data, right? One is, because so much of data, and as a user I don't know where my data is, there is unintentional data exposure, right? This is something that we've seen on the rise, especially given the aspect of more AI applications and more SaaS applications. Breaches inside malicious insider attack, right? People are getting smarter. Your uh, insider attacks have increased because every user today probably is trying out something on Claude, is trying out something on Chat GPT, trying something on Copilot, right? How do you do that? And naturally your compliance and privacy, our friends in the IT team now have to take care of all of this. And we've been talking about zero trust from quite some time, right? Now, what happens with all of this is, now your zero trust becomes even far difficult to now implement, right? But with this more and more data digitization, how are you going to take care of zero trust in parlance of this data security? But before we look at zero trust, right, let's take a step back and take, what does zero trust mean in terms of digitization? So let's define what a digital trust looks like, right? So we're talking about zero trust, but first let's understand what is digital trust. How do I make sure that I understand what my users are doing, trust my users in this digital world, and then see how my zero trust can be done. Zero trust and SASE play a very critical and vital role when it comes to overall data security, right? So next you're going to hear from Brijesh, who's going to take you through this aspect of digital trust and where does it impact us, right? So Brijesh, over to you.
Thank you, Anish. I hope I'm audible. So, thanks, Anish, for that initial setup. And while the entire industry talks about zero trust, what zero trust kind of helps drive is digital trust eventually, right? And what is this, digital trust, which has now become the new business contract? It's basically the level of confidence that your customers, that could be your internal customers, external customers, that have in your organization's ability to make sure that their data, their personal information is secure, right? The privacy is maintained and integrity is maintained, right? What does that drive? It leads to more brand credibility, brand reputation, which again is now a big driver for businesses, as every business is today digital and AI driven, right? So when we talk about digital trust, again, what is the key core component that we're talking about? We are talking about data specifically, right? It is all about how securely you are able to handle data that defines your the digital trust your organization is able to garner. Now, in terms of digital trust, there are a few factors that really drive digital trust in any organization, right? That starts with security and reliability in terms of the security framework and infrastructure that your organization is able to build, and how reliable that security fabric is. The second aspect will be privacy and control, which again translates to data sovereignty and integrity, pertaining to the land and things like that. And then it moves on to ethics and responsibility. While ethics and responsibility is a broader subject, today a lot of focus is around AI alignment on ethics and responsibility, because that is the biggest variable that is hitting businesses today, right? The AI unknown. And after ethics and responsibility, last but most important, comes compliance and transparency, right? So these are the factors that drive digital trust in any organization today. And the definition of trust has kind of evolved and changed over the past decade. Back in 2015, 2016, it was just about having a secure perimeter, making sure that your organization has all the security tools in place, all the security best practices in place, and then it was a given that it was an understood fact that as far as these tools are in place, the data is secure, right? But come 2020, 2021, come COVID, all of that changed, right? All of our lives changed. So did the businesses that we were handling, and the job functions that we were handling. Now, because of hybrid work, remote work, the applications moving to cloud, hybridity of applications, hybridity of the devices that are trying to access your applications, the concept of zero trust really took flight, like 5 years back, and we had a lot of talk and adoption around VPN capabilities, around VDI, which then evolved into ZTNA capabilities and SASE eventually, right? So in those 5 years, 4 or 5 years, most organizations have taken some steps towards being, zero trust capable, zero trust ready, SASE ready, however you'd want to, talk about it. Now, standing where we are today and into the future, there are so many fast evolving changes that are hitting us every day. AI being the biggest one. We see a lot of changes in the way we do our daily work. A lot of us have, access to AI tools. A lot of us who are more proficient have built AI agents to, automate our work. We have agents. I think, even if you look at any of the meetings we attend today, you will have some agents attending those meetings, right? So the landscape has changed, the challenges has changed, the very definition of hybridity has changed, right? In terms of all these new factors coming in. Additionally, there are new things hitting us in the form of quantum safe environment that is going to come up. So there is a lot more changes that will hit us, and the idea is the SASE as a fabric that you have adopted over these years, or you're in the journey of adopting, will be a big driver in achieving digital trust in your organization. The reason being, at the end of the day, be it any user, any agent trying to access any application, be it SaaS, be it your private application, as far as those are enterprise applications, the fabric that is going to connect and secure all of this would be the SASE framework, right? And it is important to see how accommodative, how scalable, how reliable, and how function rich and how ecosystem rich this SASE framework is, to ensure the completeness of the security posture that you are able to deliver to your organization, which will then help drive digital trust for your customers, your internal partners, so on and so forth, right? And to that end, today, even though you have, SASE in some form factor, and I speak to customers every day where, there are, for whatever reason, there are customers who have a, hardware stack, which is, guarding their, ground jewels. There are customers who have moved to part ZTNA, part SASE. There are customers who are in different journeys. Irrespective, right? What I still see is there are trust gaps, right? Digital trust gaps. What is it driven by? It is driven by inconsistent policies, because you still have fragmented tools, fragmented data lakes, which you look at for visibility, so on and so forth, which cause inconsistency in policies, inconsistencies in visibility, which means you have a lot of blind spots in your environment. Identity and access gap. This is becoming a big thing today because as your businesses evolve, there are it's not just you and me as humans sitting and working. There are a lot of non-human identities, machine identities that are coming into the picture. There is a lot many delegated identities in the form of agents that is coming into the picture. And organizations have some hold of it, some of them in advanced stages of having a better hold of identity. But yes, that is another gap that you would see. Threat detection gaps, because today the way zero trust is deployed for a lot of organizations, we see that the thought process is, as far as the communication is trust to trust, which means a corporate user accessing a corporate application, it is ideally a trusted communication, and then you don't need inspection or threat detection capabilities there, which now enterprises realize that is a misnomer or a wrong thought process, because there is insider threats, there is chances of your credentials getting stolen and used by an unwanted entity, so on and so forth, which still makes a trusted communication untrusted, right? Which is what a unified SASE is, trying to solve for. When we talk about unified SASE, we're talking about a platform that can give you a singular fabric of traffic engineering and security engineering. And that platform should be able to evolve to give you bells and whistles, additional controls as these threat landscapes evolve, right? Without you having to make drastic changes to your architecture or platform, SASE platform that you would have by then built, right? And what does this unified SASE platform help deliver? For starters, it's absolutely no-brainer: consolidation and centralized management. Because with SASE, we are hoping to bring together all the security functions into a single platform, thereby reducing point products and point solutions, which will then also drive centralized management. With consolidation and centralized management, we would want to create a unified policy framework that governs everything that touches right from the endpoint to the network in between and the application, and probably we're talking about agents, plugins, connected applications, whatever that comes in the path, right? And while having a unified policy, it is also important to have a unified data lake, to have that unified visibility, to give you that singular view of a problem or a situation or a threat, right? And all this unification will also then drive simplification of audit and compliance, right? And what does all this drive? You will be able to, while you're trying to simplify the architecture, it also helps drive automated operations, because then it's a platform that is holding your network and security fabric together. You're bringing in more context, because now the identity visibility is baked into whatever you're trying to do. The context in terms of whether this is a user or an agent, a human or a machine, a human or a non-human, right? And that identity context helps you drive better policies and better posture of security and threat detection, right? While all of this is true, AI-powered resilience is also a big factor that will make sure that the SASE platform is ahead in the race of using AI to secure AI, right? Now, having said this, we'll take a quick look at what Prisma SASE is and how does Prisma SASE help deliver on all we spoke about right now, right? So Prisma SASE basically, as you all might know, would be a singular unified SASE platform that brings together uh, SD-WAN capabilities and security capabilities delivered in unison. Now, when we started this journey of the Prisma SASE, our intention was to build a platform that unifies both network and security, because most of the time or almost all of the time when we go and talk to the customer, uh, post COVID at least, right? Um, it has been about network transformation, right? Because with the existing, caged networks, you were not able to solve for a lot of these challenges that we spoke about, right? And which is why having a unified capability of network and security became important, and that's how we brought in the unified SASE platform, which then what we have been doing and we are hoping to do in future also is to make this platform flexible enough to add those additional functionalities, not just the regular security and threat detection and prevention mechanisms of advanced threat prevention or URL filtering or DNS security, sandboxing, etc., which is a given anyway. But we are also have been able to add those additional knobs in terms of DLP, CASB, AI security, so on and so forth. And we still will expand these capabilities from that singular fabric, right? While we do that, we also are cognizant of the fact that we need to make this platform very user friendly in terms of both the user experience and the administrative experience, right? Which is where the role of ADEM and application acceleration comes into the picture to give you better performance, better visibility, lower time to resolve an issue, so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, Prisma SASE helps deliver a singular fabric that is delivered out of multiple clouds. So you get the kind of redundancy that you would want, in-cloud redundancy and cross-cloud redundancy, because our infrastructure is delivered out of all these three clouds that you see here, GCP, OCI, and AWS. And with this infrastructure, we are able to give a singular security posture for a user connecting from anywhere, be it home, office, airport, hotel, wherever. It could also be an agent connecting, and they could be connecting to any application residing anywhere, right? Irrespective, even if it's a private application access, we ensure to give you the same security capabilities as otherwise you would have for internet access, right? And that is to make sure that we don't differentiate between private access and internet access, and we give you the same security posture, and hence the same digital trust stamping that you would have because of all the threat detection mechanisms that you would have for internet access is also available for private access, right? And tying this back to those four pillars of digital trust that we spoke about, we have uniform security and reliability for any user connecting from anywhere. It could be branch office or a remote user connecting to Prisma Access, accessing any private application or internet application or AI application or SaaS application. We have the same security fabric, singular security policy engine, and all the advanced security capabilities driven by our CDSS, which is the Cloud Delivered Security Service, and our DLP engine, which makes sure that any managed or unmanaged user connecting from a managed or unmanaged device, um, and from a managed location, which is a branch, or an unmanaged location, which could be anywhere in the world, is still secure and has the same security policies and has the same experience of connecting to the application, irrespective of what the variable factor is, right? The second aspect is AI alignment, which again is another trust factor that we spoke about. And as Palo Alto, we have taken a lot of cognizance into making sure that the AI aspect of things is really secured, starting with AI access security, which gives you visibility into the Gen AI usage in your environment. How are your users using Gen AI apps? How many Gen AI tools are in use? What are the AI plugins that are in use? What are the meeting bots that are seen in your meetings? What is the kind of risk that these different agents give, right? And then we also look at the SaaS part of it and agent part of it. We look at the different agent platforms, the number of agents that are there in your that are created by your employees, the kind of delegated privileges that these agents are given, and the kind of access these agents have, right? And that is governed by the Secure AI framework, which is also powered by Precision AI. The concept of that being AI being used to secure AI usage, right? And the other pillar that we spoke about in terms of digital trust is compliance, right? Which is the most important thing that any organization is concerned about, apart from giving a secure and good user experience. And with Prisma Access, which has all the different data profiles that are aligned to the different regulatory bodies, which are inbuilt into the DLP function. We also have the command center and the compliance center, where we map all the security policies to the different security frameworks that are relevant to your industry. And we give you a posture of where you stand in terms of the policy governance. Our SSPM also takes a look at all your SaaS applications, how they are configured, and are they configured as per best practices, and gives you that visibility in terms of compliance adherence. And the Prisma browser gives you all the controls that are required, which help you scale your organization to both AI compliance and DPDP compliance, right? And finally, coming to the center of all this discussion, which is data, we are talking about data, which is the factor that is driving digital trust. And with Palo Alto's data security story, we have made sure that all channels are covered, all visibility is given, or all compliance factors are covered, in making sure that your customers, users, employees' data is secure and only accessible within bounds of the organization and by people or assets or agents that should have those access. Now, I would hand it over to Shashank, who would take us through the details of this data protection. Shashank, over to you.
Apologies, I was on mute. Nice talking to you folks, and thanks, Brijesh. So let's start about what do customers typically look for from a data security solution? What are the three major objectives? So first, it starts off with identifying and discovering where my data is. So where is my sensitive data? And while that's sensitive, while I believe a lot of that is sensitive, can I accurately be able to discover which is the most critical data that I need to protect? And how do I protect this across the various channels that I have? Just next slide. So if you think about it, the three core verticals of this. One is the discovery side of the house, where you're looking to discover data wherever it is, whether that's at rest, in motion, on the endpoint, on the browser, or any mode of interaction with these applications. the classification, which needs to be precise across all these different channels where we're discovering data, and an enforcement that is consistent across all these different channels that we have. So from a data security standpoint, Palo has a core fundamental data security engine, or a DLP engine, that secures data across a number of different channels. If we look at the sort of left-hand side of the over here, we can see we have DLP available across our network side of the house. That includes our SASE as well as our on-prem firewalls, firewall infrastructure that we might have deployed across customer environments. We have DLP across cloud environments, across private SaaS applications that are accessed over the network, DLP over endpoints, the browser as another mode of enforcing controls, as well as email as another mode of exfiltration of data. And with the advent with the influx of AI into day-to-day workplace activity, we do have specific offerings talking about employee use of AI as well as agent use of AI as well, or agent use of data as well. And we'll dive into some of these in the upcoming slides. But the core remains that the focus has been providing the comprehensive coverage across all these verticals and ensuring there's a common classification engine where you can define what is sensitive to you once and enforce controls in a unified manner across these different channels without the need to have these fragmented experiences that you might have in a multi-vendor solution. So if we look at how do organizations, how would we even think about securing, and what is your data security strategy that we typically talk to organizations about? Maybe Brijesh, you can just flip to the end of the slide where things just pop up. So first off, you start off on the top, which is customers are even starting to think about, hey, let me even identify what my users are doing. And that's probably going to be the first sort of filter where you're going to see what are my users even accessing. What are these applications? What's the risk posture of these applications? Are these safe? Are these sanctioned? Are these unsanctioned? Are these licensed? Getting that visibility is the first step where you at least start to understand what your users are interacting with. A subset of this is also thinking about, say, understanding whether users are using a corporate version of an application versus a non-corporate version of an application, because your risk posture towards these two might be completely different. Someone using an enterprise version of, say, ChatGPT, your policies towards that might be completely different towards someone using a personal or free version of ChatGPT, given that you might have a license agreement with this where you have different provisions that you have specifically for your organization. To address this, we have our SaaS inline product line that's available as part of our data security portfolio that gives you that visibility into your entire SaaS ecosystem, identifying shadow IT that's being used, identifying as well as corporate versus non-corporate or personal tenants, and having the ability to enforce controls based on risk, based on corporate versus personal, or any other criteria that you're looking at. As we're aware, increasing number of AI of usage that we see nowadays is on the AI side of the house, where enterprises are starting to adopt AI applications. About 2 years ago, when there was the advent of AI, I think enterprises were a lot more skeptical about using AI, and they had more of a restrictive stance where they said, hey, we just don't want any AI. But I think it's gone on to show that there is a lot of benefits with AI, and a lot of enterprises are seeing workplace productivity improvements by leveraging AI in the right sort of manner. So we do have a separate offering that's available within our data security portfolio called as AI Access Security, which is aimed at providing that visibility, control, and protection for usage of third-party AI applications and how to safely enable that. We'll double-click on this in an upcoming slide. From a DLP standpoint, as I mentioned, the core DLP engine that we have is available across these multiple different layers. We do support DLP across the networks, AI applications, endpoints, email, browsers, private applications. So we will talk about the common data classification engine that we have and dive deep into one or two specific use cases that we hear around the different channels where we have DLP and the capabilities that we have. Next off, from a sanctioned application standpoint. So you started off with your thousands of applications. As an organization, you might only sanction or license a set of applications. it's very critical to think about the posture of those applications that you're actually allowing. From a posture standpoint, it's about understanding whether you set up the application in the right sort of manner and whether it's compliant with industry standards such as NIST and CIS and other industry regulatory bodies that are there. So our SSPM product allows you to identify how you set up your application and identify drift from what is considered an industry standard. Along with that, we also have the ability as part of that capability to understand whether you have third-party plugins or connected applications that have been embedded right into your SaaS application and how, what is the risk that's being posed by them. As an example over here, let's take the example of Grammarly. I hope folks over here are aware of Grammarly, which is an online writing assistant that's available. I don't believe anyone has gone to grammarly.com and said, hey, I've written this text and can you give me writing assistance? The typical mode of deployment of Grammarly is going to be either as a browser extension or as an extension or a connected application that's installed natively into your SaaS ecosystem. Let's imagine if you're a Microsoft customer, you'd install it across your Office 365 marketplace. If you're a Google Workspace customer, you have it installed on your Google Workspace marketplace. So it's natively embedded into your SaaS application itself. So it's as you are doing a benign transaction as a user, that is, I am inputting something sensitive into an Office document, which is my licensed application, which is expected to have some sensitive data. This benign transaction, which we think about from a perimeter defense standpoint, looks very normal. The presence of a third-party connected application poses risk because that application essentially has a level of access to this data. It's able to read every single item that I'm putting onto that document and potentially take that data out and share that with its own backend, either for processing, for analysis, or to train its own model. So again, it becomes extremely critical to think about the posture of your SaaS applications and look at the connected applications and plugins that are installed, as these are essentially backdoors to your entire SaaS application, which definitely has sensitive information. The last piece that we have is your core corpus of data that might reside in a number of core applications. If you're a Microsoft customer, a lot of your data is going to reside on Google Drive. If you're a Google customer, it might be Google Drive, Gmail, and maybe another application such as Slack or ServiceNow and other applications. So as part of our SaaS API capability, we're able to first inspect data at rest, help classify this data so that you're aware of what data is available across my corpus of data across my different data stores. And you're able to first classify and label this data so that you can protect it across the channels that are there on the third swim lane that's over there, which is the network, the endpoint, email, browser, and private applications. As part of our SaaS API offering, we're also able to identify overexposure of data that's happening across your SaaS ecosystem. Take an example of a file that's residing on Google Drive or a SharePoint that's been inadvertently shared with all the employees in the organization, identifying overexposure and providing the right sort of controls to prevent exfiltration and overexposure of data across these SaaS applications. So let's move on and talk about the classification. We said there's a common classification engine, which is the foundation of deploying data security across all these different channels. So first off, we have a number of different classifications, as you can see on the left-hand side. Starting off with the 1,000+ data classifiers we have available out of the box as part of our solution, along with the ability to build your own classifiers. Along with these 1,000 classifiers, we have optical character recognition to identify optical characters based on characters that might be there as part of an image. We have exact data match as a mechanism to get 100% efficacy with respect to discovering sensitive data. So in this case, customers feed in what they're looking for exactly, and then we can go and identify that exact text. The core example for this might be organizations which are looking to protect, say, an employee ID or a user ID or a PAN card for all their employees. Instead of looking for all PAN cards, they might say, hey, if something is matching the set of PAN cards for my employee base, I want to 100% block this. I don't want any false positives as part of this. I want to get full efficacy with respect to detecting this. Exact data match allows that. We also have dictionaries or keywords where we do lookup-based analysis based on keywords, key phrases that customers feel match a particular sensitivity of data, whether that's a file that has sensitive, confidential information, those sort of tags attached as part of content itself. We also have document fingerprinting capabilities available. Next, Brijesh. So the previous set of capabilities were what we had in the past, but we've also looked to augment our own detections with AI. And as part of that, we've integrated what we call as precision AI services across our entire portfolio of detection services. It's not just DLP, but also across our threat protection services. We've embedded AI natively into the detection process to help get better outcomes, increase efficacy, as well as reduce false positives. From an AI standpoint, the three major things that I'll talk about. First is, let's look at the bottom over here. We have large language models. So we've been augmenting large language models into our detections. What this does is helps us weed out some false positives by identifying the context around which a particular pattern emerges within text. Take the example of if you're looking for an Aadhaar card. If you might be looking at every single 12-digit number, that's going to give you the least efficacy because you're going to match any 12-digit number that might be as part of a HTML tag. It might be part of any other content that might be there within a file. By augmenting LLMs, we're able to identify a 12-digit number that's coming as part of talking about a person's identity or something financial information regarding a person, as opposed to a 12-digit number that's in an HTML tag or a JSON body. The second piece is the ML classifiers. So we've built our own out-of-the-box machine learning classifiers to help detect some standard documents that typically are present across organizations. You can imagine passport documents, license cards, you can imagine tax documents, which are common across different industries. Instead of customers having to build that themselves, we built that natively as part of our product, so they're available out of the box. The last thing I'd like to call over here is we also have the ability for customers to secure their own intellectual property by building their own machine learning based classifiers. Let's assume that in an organization you have specific documents which follow a specific format. If you're in the finance industry, you might have a bank intake form. If you're in the healthcare space, you might have a patient intake form. These typically follow a very common format, and you might be looking to secure these as these are customer data that you don't want going outside the bounds of what you consider safe in your organization. You can leverage our machine learning based classifiers by providing a sample of how these documents typically look. And then, based on file similarity analysis, you can block exfiltration of such documents across all the different channels that we talked about. I'd like to spend some time on that AI data classification. So, Brijesh, if you can go to the next slide. So let's talk about traditional classification. This is focused on classifying data that we know. We think about PII, we think about financial information, we think about source code as few major categories that we really care about. And oftentimes this is defined, customer defined, and it's informed by regulations or compliance that, hey, I need to protect PII, PHI, financial information, etc. Now, while we look to discover and classify data, traditional discovery focuses only identifying these three buckets that are there. And most of your other data, while it went through a discovery phase, remains unclassified. So you don't necessarily know what's there in the rest of the data that's there in your repository of data. Switching over, so we've introduced something called as shadow data discovery, which is focused on not just identifying the known data sets that you have, but also identifying shadow or hidden data that might be there. So as part of our discovery service, we're introducing something where we are able to go and identify clusters or categories of data from the extended set of data that you're actually discovering, identifying documents or clusters that might not be within what you'd initially thought you wanted to protect, but might be sitting at the periphery of that. As an example, over here, you have immigration data, you have AWS API call data, product strategy documents, and software error logs. These, while you might not immediately think of something or you might not have previously considered to protect, if I was to ask any data security practitioner, they'd say, hey, some of these I'd really like to protect. I just don't have a mechanism to even identify them. Shadow data discovery brings out the ability to uncover this in an unsupervised manner. So we can actually bring this out. You have the ability to classify an entire category and protect an entire category, or label them so that you can enforce controls across all the channels we talked about. Rajesh, I know we're running short on time, so I just want to quickly walk through a few things that are coming up. So I said I'll do a double deep dive on a few different elements or a few different channels where we have DLP. So first off, since the focus is on SASE, so from a SASE standpoint, irrespective of where the customer is or where the employee is, whether that's at home, HQ, or a branch office, we do have the ability to inspect network traffic going to about 250 odd SaaS applications and about 140 plus Gen AI applications. So this includes file and non-file transactions that are going from a user to an application where you can deploy the right controls to prevent exfiltration to an unsanctioned application. We have a granular flexible policy where you can define policies with a number of different categories, and the scope allows you to define exceptions as well, where you might want to do policies differently for, say, your main set of users versus a different department versus a subset of users who are maybe privileged users. We can inspect not just the content of the file, but we're also able to go beyond that to inspect file metadata, destination URL, file name, and file watermarks as well. The other piece that's there around this is typically when we think of network-based DLP, we think about a user is trying a transaction, it gets blocked, and that essentially breaks their workflow. We also have end user coaching that's available and end user notifications available, where an end user can be notified directly on their device via our SASE agent, indicating that this transaction has been blocked because of so and so reason. We also have native exemption workflows built into that, where an end user can request for an exemption in case there is a violation, and upon approval, retry that same transaction. So that allows business continuity without the need to break existing workflows. The last two things I want to talk about. First off is on the endpoint side. So while we talked about network, on the endpoint as well, we've extended our data security capabilities. On the left-hand side, you see endpoint DLP capabilities offered by a Prisma Access agent. This is the unified single SASE agent, where you have network capabilities, you have connectivity capabilities, and you have endpoint DLP, where you can prevent exfiltration outside a managed. Right-hand side, you have the Prisma browser, which is our secure browser that can be used for your managed and unmanaged devices. This has last mile controls on the device for files, for file upload, file download, last mile controls such as copy, paste, print, screenshot, screen capture, and the ability to even mask data in real time while it's being shown on the device. So it's not just data in motion over here, it's data in use. So things that you're loading on the page, you can automatically mask without the need to expose that to the wider set of audience that might not need to see certain content. So with this, the one last thing I'll just cover as part of this, I know there were some questions about AI. We can cover that probably in a subsequent session, or feel free to reach out. From an AI standpoint, we do have our AI access security product that's available. As we mentioned, it has the same discovery capabilities for AI applications, the capability to discover AI plugins, and DLP for AI applications with end user coaching built in natively to allow the use of AI without breaking business productivity. We'd like to end with just sharing some links in terms of how you can reach out to us for following up regarding any conversations that you want to have regarding data security and SASE.
Awesome session, guys. 11:51, so bang on time. We still have a few minutes for live Q&A. So, guys, go ahead, raise your hand. I will unmute you, and then you can ask your question.